of our auxiliary playing, we're going to talk about another instrument that gets abused, I guess, if you will, quite a bit, and we're going to be talking about crash cymbals. So the biggest thing, as far as you obviously want to get the best sound possible. Now, if you watch a lot of orchestral or people playing crash cymbals, there's a lot of different techniques out there. All are good in their own right. As long as you get a good sound, that's the most important. And how that good sound is produced is also most important. And as far as a technique that I think will be beneficial to you is this. In most crash cymbals, again, there's a lot of different brands, there's a lot of different names. You know, Sabian and Zildjian are very prominent. Size-wise, you can go anywhere from a 17 to a 22-inch cymbal. Mostly your middle-of-the-road stuff that you're going to be playing, general playing, is going to be probably an 18-inch to a 19-inch. These here are a Sabian AA orchestral cymbal, Viennese, which is a really good average or general cymbal for you to probably execute most passages with. Now, as far as the way I hold it or the way I play, obviously the handle here, you have a cymbal knot which you can kind of look up to. It's a different knot than probably most knots you tie with your shoe that you can kind of actually look up, and if it breaks, you can, you know, use that to produce it. You basically want this nice square knot so it doesn't actually slip through the hole. Okay. Now, big errors that I see is these straps here. Obviously, a leather strap. Never ever are you going to put your hands through the strap and playing this way. Now, there's a lot of drum lines, a lot of marching bands that play this way, and there's a reason for it, is because it provides a little bit of flair. They can do a lot of flips, a lot of cool things with them that provide a visual aspect to their playing. The problem with that is that you can see that my hand is actually on the cymbal itself, which will actually dampen the actual sound of it, okay? Which is a big no-no, especially when you're playing indoors. So, the other thing is that sometimes these cymbals and these straps actually come with this donut, which are actually attached to it. Again, the problem is that donut here will actually attach itself to the dome, or actually the cymbal itself, again, will dampen it, which is a big no-no. You want to touch the cymbal as less as possible when you're actually playing. So I take my right hand here, I curl it around the actual strap, put my thumb, almost like a fulcrum of a snare drum stick, and put it up against there, okay? So that's the way I'm going to hold it in the right hand. I'm going to hold it the same way in the left hand, where I'm kind of gently grabbing it, much like a snare drum stick, where the fingers are around the strap, creating that kind of a fulcrum there. That is basically how you want to hold it. Now, I am right hand dominant again, so I'm going to take this left cymbal, again, barely touching it, you see it's barely resting on there. I'm going to hold it at an angle. Now, this is very crucial in order to get a good cymbal sound. You never really want to crash the cymbals straight on with each other. If I always revert back to when you wind up the monkey and it crashes the cymbals together. Basically, if I take these cymbals and crash them directly flat, they're perfectly parallel and the edges line up, that's the sound I get, okay? Which is basically I'm creating an air pocket and not letting the cymbals breathe and not letting them vibrate. So, ways to get around that, or not to do that, is I take this bottom cymbal at about a 30, maybe 40 degree angle from the ground. I'm going to take that grip in my right hand now, and the overlap that I use basically is either I'm about an inch or two on the inside of this edge or an inch or two on the other side, okay? Now when I push these two together, or I drop this cymbal, let gravity do its work, it basically will flam as it hits, okay, which is what we want. The biggest, what you have to do as a musician or as a cymbal player is making sure that when you crash them, even though it flams, you don't want to hear the flam. So if I crash these two together like so, it produces a relatively nice sound to it. And you couldn't really hear the flamming too much. Now if I held it flat again and put the edges together, that's the sound I get. Which is not as good as probably as you can hear, right? So always want to make sure that you are playing and that you are actually flamming the edges together. Now, I wouldn't actually think of a flam when I'm playing it. Basically, I'm just letting gravity, this cymbal here, drop into this one, and because I have this angled, it will produce a natural flamming effect. You don't think that you're going to be flamming with that left hand. All you're doing is keeping it there and playing it like so. And you can create either small ones there or big ones, And those, you don't have to basically, you don't really need a lot of motion in order to get that cymbal to actually sound. And another kind of error that people sometimes use is that they think faster and louder, bigger motions is going to create a louder sound, which it does not. All these cymbals have a maximum amount of vibration, a maximum amount of sound that they can actually produce. So if something is not loud enough, chances are you have to get a bigger cymbal. Because if you're basically cranking this thing down as fast as you can go, and it's not producing a good sound, it will basically start to break and not, basically your whole cymbal deteriorate. You almost think of it as, if you're playing golf, if anybody actually played golf, a faster swing doesn't actually mean you're going to hit the ball farther. It's where you hit the sweet spot on the club head where that ball will get the maximum amount of force from it, or get the maximum amount of distance from. Same thing with cymbals as far as a sweet sound. You basically have to find that sweet spot, or the angle of that cymbal, to create a nice, what we call a blossom, where it goes whoosh and that kind of sound to it. Some errors that people do when they're doing this kind of technique is they think they have to slide that cymbal across. In which case sometimes they'll get an air pocket there. Sometimes the cymbal will be too flat, or they start to play and they turn that left cymbal and hit the two edges together, which is kind of a big no-no. Think again, this one stays in the exact same spot. You drop that one in and everything is good, okay? The other thing, and again, this is kind of what your conductor asked, but a big no-no is what do you do when you're done, right? What do you do when you're done? Again, articulation, if you need something short, you can bring it into your body and dampen it that way. If you let it ring, some conductors like to produce it up like this, or hold the cymbal up like this, which is kind of like they think it's the satellite going, the sound's coming out that way. What's actually happening is the sound is produced by the sounds coming off of this cymbal like that. So what you want to do is basically when you're done, hold it up in the air like so, let it ring, and the sound will actually travel out farther, again, above the people you're playing with, or above, hopefully, your music stand, and that sound will carry that way. If you hold them up like this, basically the sound's going into the ceiling and out towards the ground, which is kind of somewhat of a dampening mechanism. So, those are, again, having your towel, basically, on a music stand, make sure you don't make any noise. Those are some really basic stuff as far as producing a really nice medium forte to loud cymbal crash that hopefully will work for you. Thanks.
Watch me!